Hello, my name is Marissa, and I am very excited to announce that we have officially updated and upgraded our AstroloCalendar workbooks for 2025. Previous AstroloCalendars were a bit intimidating and perhaps complex to follow. They definitely were not entirely user-friendly or intuitive. So we've made a few changes for ease of comfort and use, and also just to improve the aesthetic overall. Our new and improved 50-plus page workbook now includes weekly reflections and suggested card pull prompts at the end of every week, and those reflections and prompts are unique to that specific week according to the astrology weather for that week. We also have new and full moon breakdowns, as well as updated journal questions that are specific to the new or full moon. We have moon phase, goal alignment sections, and suggested mini rituals, and really so much more. Best of all, majority of this book can be filled out on your phone or your computer. However, I always suggest printing it out at your local print shop so that you can get the glossy cover and the protection overall, and also it's just so much more fun to fill things out by hand. Because we have received feedback in the past that many would like a tutorial of how to fill out our workbooks, I decided to make an introductory video so that you can feel nice and comfy and cozy with your monthly planner. So let's dive in.
Catch me on the I'll be heading up in the wild, chilling low key.
We start off on the cover page, of course. And in this example, we're looking at 2025 January cover page. And we know that it's January because it says January in the upper left corner. We also can see the zodiac symbol that starts the month is in the center. And in this case, we are looking at Capricorn because the sun is in Capricorn at the start of this month. We then have our table of contents and our welcome with instructions that you can follow along with as well. Next, we have our reference section, which provides a very generic and brief look at the planets, houses, and aspects. It's important to note that the planet interpretations are specific to the planets in transit and not to be confused with planets in your chart. And if you don't know, a planet that is in your birth chart is a planet that will never move because it is a picture of where the planets were when you were born, whereas a planet that in transit is going to change according to the current day. For example, let's say that you were born with the sun sign in Libra. This means that no matter what day, no matter what time, no matter what year, your sun sign is going to remain Libra. However, if we look at the sun in transit for the month of January, the sun is in Capricorn and Aquarius. And then when we go into February, it goes from Aquarius to Pisces and so on and so forth, meaning that the sun will change the sign according to what that day is. So birth chart, planets stay the same. In transit, they move. At the end of the reference section is a quick instruction for how to fill out the highlight my chart activities, or really any empty chart activities. And I know this is a little bit complicated, so let's go ahead and talk about it for a second. At a glance, we have instructions here at the top, and then we also have instructions here within the chart itself. The first instruction that we have is telling us to identify our rising sign. If you don't know your rising sign, you're going to have to pull your chart to get that information. What we're going to do is we're going to plug in our rising sign into the chart. So let's take a look at this picture here. We have a huge bolded cross directly in the center of it. This first line that is horizontal, it's the only horizontal line, it's bolded. We're going to follow that to the left side, and that first wedge to the left underneath, that wedge is your first house. And this is where our rising sign will go. In this example, we have Cancer. So this chart, the rising sign is Cancer. If your rising sign is Virgo, then you'll write Virgo. If your rising sign is Pisces, then you'll write Pisces. Whatever your rising sign is, you're going to write that down. Then we're going to move counterclockwise. So we're going to move to the right. If we start at 9 o'clock, so this is 9 o'clock on the chart, we move down to 8 o'clock, and now we have this next wedge. This is the second house. We're going to fill out each of these wedges according to the zodiacal order. And if you don't know the zodiacal order, you don't need to fret. You can look up here in the instructions. We have them listed out in their correct order. So we can see in this chart, Cancer is the rising sign. What comes after Cancer? Leo. So then we write Leo in that next wedge. Moving to the right, the next sign, Virgo. So we write Virgo. Moving to the right, the next sign, Libra. So we write Libra, and so on and so forth. If you're a Taurus rising, then you're going to write Taurus here. And then moving to the right is Gemini. Moving to the right is Cancer. And you're going to fill this out until all 12 wedges are filled out. After you've recorded the signs, we can start mapping where the planets are. In this example, we can see that the sun is drawn in the wedge that says Capricorn. This is because the sun starts in January in Capricorn, so we have first jotted it down here. And then we can see there's a line moving from the sun up into Aquarius. That's because during the month of January, the sun starts in Capricorn and it moves to about 11 degrees, which is almost halfway. So on our own chart, we can identify where the Capricorn wedge, and in that Capricorn wedge, we can draw the sun symbol, or we can write out the actual planet's name. So in this case, we would write SUN. Now, if you're not sure what the symbols are for your planets, you can always go back up to the reference section. We do have them here. Additionally, we can move back down a little bit to a new page where we have exactly where the planets are starting. You can see the name of them, the symbol, and the sign and degree, as well as where they're moving toward. So a sun in January starts at 11 degrees Capricorn. It ends at 12 degrees Aquarius. So in this chart here, we have drawn sun in Capricorn around where we assume 11 degrees is, and then we moved it up into 12 degrees Aquarius. So you can totally do this activity. You don't have to at all. It's entirely up to you. Additionally, if you want more of a visual representation, we can look at the overview page, and there is a chart that visually graphs exactly where the planets are moving toward. So again, we have that sun in Capricorn, it moves into Aquarius. If we want to look at Mars, Mars is in Leo, and then it backtracks so we can see that line moving from where it is to where it's going. And then we can copy that information into our own charts. One thing to note is that in my instructions, I advise against recording the moon's journey. And the reason is because by the time January comes to a close, the moon has already made it throughout the entire chart. So you'd basically just be drawing a huge circle, and it wouldn't necessarily benefit you or give you any piece of information that's pivotal to your journey. However, what I do suggest is that we map down the current moon phases. So in this month here, we have first quarter is in Aries, and you can see that we have the Aries house here, this Aries wedge. And in the Aries wedge, we wrote down what was going on for that particular moon phase. I know upcoming in January, there's a new moon in Aquarius. So wherever the Aquarius wedge is, we would write new moon in Aquarius on that particular wedge. And that way we can continue mapping those major pivotal moments that affect us or impact us on a deeper level. And if you want to put all of these things together, you can come back up to the reference section and you can see what you're looking at. In this example, we have the sun in Capricorn and it's in the 7th house. How do we know? Well, if this first wedge is house 1, house 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the sun is transiting the 7th house. Well, first we can come back up here and we can take a look at what that indicates a little bit further. Again, very general, very brief, but at least it gives us an idea of what we're working with. So perhaps for this chart, the sun will be shining a light. It lights up an area. It's time to shine. It's going to shine a light on all things related to others, one-on-one connections, one-on-one dynamics, partnerships. Perhaps it'll also reveal to us more things about ourselves via others being a mirror and reflecting back to us the parts that we need to further encompass and embrace about ourselves. It's our shadow. So maybe it's shining a light on, hey, these pieces you're repressing or you're pushing away, and you should probably embrace these parts of you or figure out why you're pushing them away, etc. We kind of touched on the overview page, but this is really just a high-level look at the planetary action happening for the particular month. It is a little intimidating, so if you don't want to look at it, you don't have to. But to break it down very simply, we have a visual here of what the planets are doing for this particular month. We also have the planet key dates for if they're moving into a different sign. We have our major moon phases. We have all of the moons listed for what day you can see the moon in that sign. And then we have aspects that are given at the bottom. This just gives us more context of the feel for that particular day. Below that, again, we have that start to end. So on January 1st, here's what we're looking at. On the last day, here's what we're looking at. And so that way we can map it into this next section here. And we can go back to those instructions if we need to. Unfortunately, this page is not interactive, so you will have to print it out. But that's also kind of better because it's been proven that we understand more when we have a kinesthetic connection to what we're actually doing. So drawing or writing is probably the best cup of tea for this anyway. And then below that, we have our moon calendar, and you are welcome to print this if you'd like. You might notice that there are some dates where there are 2 signs on the moon. This is because maybe on that day, the moon starts in one sign and then it ends in another sign. So for example, on January 7th, we can see the moon starts in Aries, but by the end of the night, it's in Taurus. Then we get into the planner section. So here we have a cute calendar to see from a calendar perspective where the action is. And then there is a beefy description of what the current sun sign is. In this example, the sun is in Capricorn. So we have a section here breaking down Capricorn. There are text specs at the very top. We can see when the sun is in Capricorn start date and when it ends. Then we also have zodiac sign direct impact level. So if a zodiac sign is directly making a major aspect to Capricorn, then it is highlighted for you to know that you are definitely one of the people touched by this sun moving into Capricorn. We have a general vibe summarizing what that vibe might feel like, and then again we have that breakdown. We then shift into an overview of this month and all of its astro energy. All mentions of signs or planets will be bolded so that you can quickly scan those areas that you might want to reference. At the bottom of that, we have a section dedicated to help us drill down to our goals, actions, visions, gratitudes, manifestations, etc. Anything that we want to record, all of the different weeks that are involved in this particular month, anything that we want to really just get ourselves set up on. Each week starts with a general breakdown. We can see the week dates at the very top, and then we can also see the astro activity that's happening for this week and what days that happens on. Then we have a general summary for the week, as well as a day-by-day take very briefly saying what that likely fill might be, and then any notes that we want to record, we can record them in here. Now we're getting into the day-by-day planner portion. At the top, we can record why this week is awesome, because obviously every week should start off with us saying that it's going to be awesome. We have our day and date listed. We also have the corresponding moon provided. And then we have our areas that we can record any notes, to-dos, appointments, planners, whatever you want to write. Underneath the moon, or underneath the days as well, we have why we're grateful for today. You can write as much as you need to. Also on these are key notes of what's happening astrologically or just important information overall. So on December 30th, we can see there's a new moon in Capricorn at 2:26 p.m. This particular workbook that we're looking at is written in PST, so make sure to get the correct time zone workbook or manually update these yourselves. At the end of every week, we also have an area to write down what our notes are for that particular week, maybe something that happened or ideas that hit us. One of my favorite parts about this is that it indicates which number week out of the entire year it is. And then we have our reflection section and our card corner. These are specific to the current week at hand and what that week's astrology might have brought up. And so you can fill these out here. You can fill them out in your journal, whatever makes you most comfortable. And one more key thing to highlight here is that when there is a new or full moon happening in a week, we're going to have a page dedicated to breaking it down. So here's a page on the full moon in Cancer. We have our text specs, we have our signs that are directly impacted, and then we also have a summary of what we might be experiencing, as well as a breakdown of what this particular moon might be like or might feel like. We have a reflection section dedicated to this particular moon. It is unique to the particular moon at hand. We also have a mini suggested ritual that you can go ahead and jump into if it's something that makes you feel comfortable. And then at the very end below that, we have an opportunity for you to align your goals with the moon. So we do have a little section here that briefly touches on what each moon might mean in relation to your goals. And then we have a breakdown of this particular moon and how it might interact with your goals, as well as suggested activities to further push yourself along or nudge yourself along, or at least just see like where you're at in the process. This week also encompasses the sun moving into Aquarius. So we have a little page breaking down that information as well. We have some reflection questions to go alongside it, which is specific to the sun in Aquarius. And we also have a little area for you to play with your own chart. So again, unfortunately, we cannot write into the chart. You're going to have to print it if you want to do that, but we can fill out these fields here. So we can identify which house the sun in Aquarius is, and then we can go up to the reference section and we can grab keywords or key areas that we think that this is going to be happening, or the areas that we assume will be the light will be shining upon. And last but not least, we have our planet journal. This is a very brief journal section where we can map each planet according to the houses it's traveling through, as well as key questions related to the specific planet. So in this example, we have Mercury. It starts at 20 degrees Sagittarius. We can look at our charts. We can find where 20 degrees Sagittarius is, or Just look for Sagittarius if you don't want to mess with degrees just yet. And you can write down what house that is, just like we did earlier. Then look up 6 degrees Aquarius or just Aquarius, write the house that's in. And then we can answer these questions that are each specific to the planet. And again, we can fill out this here in the workbook, or we can print this out and journal about it ourselves. And there you have it. It is a workbook packed with many to do, but nothing required. You can fill this out or just reference the key areas that you want to reference. And of course, if you have any questions, you can always reach out. I'm very excited for you to get started with this book. Thank you so much for your interest in it. A lot of energy and time and thought has been plugged into these workbooks each and every month. So I hope you enjoy them as much as I love to create them. Thank you. Perfect.